Drew for Pro Boxing Fans, and I'm joined by Barry Jones, former WBO World Super Featherweight Champion. And we're here at the weigh-in for Rakhimov versus Joe Cordina tomorrow. First of all, back in Wales, back in Cardiff for another fight night.
Yeah, and about time. Hey, I thought last June this was going to be the start of something great for Joe. I think he sold really well. The crowd were fantastic. I thought he would have been back here sooner, but obviously what happened with Joe with the IBF and losing his title outside the ring. But now we're back. And he's challenging for the title again, but he looks as focused as ever, and I think he has the ability and I think the technical nuance to get through tomorrow night in emphatic fashion.
Yeah, and I think he knows, a lot of people are saying it possibly a tougher fight than Agawa last time out, but he's going in feeling like he's still a champion.
Yeah, it's physically a tougher fight. Because I think because you think Rakhimov is probably stronger built than Agawa, and also he has a better work rate. But I think the Rakhimov we saw in his last fight against Alpha Barrett, if that guy turns up. Lose Alva did tremendously well. Let's not forget about that. There's Joe Cordina again in our way.
And Darren Barker, it's okay, come through.
Sorry, man.
Come in.
But, and I think that if he turns up there, the one against Alpha Barrett, then I can't see how Joe doesn't win and win really well. But Rakhimov is better than that, has been smart in his approach to wearing you down. So Joe's going to have to be on his game. Now, my only worry for Joe is that he can outbox him. But he can punch now, Joe. That he goes in thinking he's the puncher, and he tries to hold his feet for too long. Then that gives Rakhimov a chance. And once Rakhimov gets an opportunity and a chance to hurt you or put pressure on you, once that momentum's in him, he's going to be hard to keep off. So if you can use the movement to confuse him in those early rounds and be sensible and smart, then I think as the rounds go on, Rakhimov will square his feet, make mistakes, and then Joe can get those power shots in, and then possibly and maybe get the stoppage.
It would be great if he could, and if he gets the win tomorrow night, he's going to go down in history because he's going to become two-time world champion without ever losing the belt in the ring.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it must be a Cardiff thing because I was the same. I'm Cardiff's last world champion at super featherweight until Joe cruelly took that away from me last June. But I never lost my title in the ring, and then when I got a chance to regain my title, I unfortunately fell dramatically short. I got battered. But Joe's a better fighter than I am, and I can happily admit that. And I think he will be. Technically, Wales is, well, on paper, Wales is first two-time world champion too. Because even though Robbie Regan did it in the early 90s, the IBF then changed it to an interim title. Joe Cordina beat Bernard Hopkins, who was the lineal champion, but didn't actually pick up a belt for that, though the Ring Magazine belt was on the line, but that's not regarded as a world status. And Nathan Cleverly did it when he won the WBO title, then he won the WBA title at light heavyweight against Jürgen Bremer, but it was the WBA regular, not super title. So there's reasons you can pull straws there where they didn't actually win a second world title. But with Joe's, it'll be 100% genuine down the line. So yeah, there'll be an argument that he might be the first Welshman to ever do it.
It'll be a huge one if he does, and all of Wales will be behind him, and it'll be a great night. It's going to be packed out in there.
Yeah, well, listen, we know what it's like. We've been here for. It was the house that Joe built. That arena. That was Joe Cordina, of course, and now it's continued with another Joe and Joe Cordina. And I think the crowd will be great. They were great the last time. It sold more tickets this time, and he'll need that, and it'll help him. If the fight becomes a war of attrition, which Cordina's never been in before, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds when it gets hard, he might need that crowd to spur him on.
Well, away from this fight week, there is another one going on in Las Vegas. Tank Garcia, finally happening. It's been talked about for a long time. It is happening. What's your prediction for that?
It's a really good fight when you can give a fight breakdown, which I've done plenty of these, like really in-depth ones. And I picked Davis, by the way. While I'm giving the reason why Davis will win, I'm also thinking of reasons. Oh, actually, Garcia could do that. There's like 4 or 5, 6 variables either side who could win the fight and win the fight quite cleanly because they can both punch. But I think the ring generalship of a Tank, Gervonta Davis, I think, and the fact that he is shorter will get him lower, and that we haven't seen Garcia yet. We have that real test. I think he finds a way. I think it's not easy for him. He has to be smart, and if he switches off, which he does now and again on the peripherals, then he might get caught by a Garcia who has crazy power. But I think Gervonta Davis catches him and gets a late stoppage.
Okay.
Great fight though, by the way. It's an unbelievable fight.
And thank God it's happening.
Yeah, and thank God it's happening in a time scale that we can finish. I'm working obviously on the broadcast for this. I can get home, get showered, sit down and watch that fight before I go to bed.
Some other fights, ones we want to happen, hopefully they will, in the heavyweight division. So obviously there's talk of this Saudi Arabia tournament or super fight thing happening in December. This morning it's come out that AJ says that the Wilder fight is 95% done, which I don't really know what that means, but hopefully that means it is going to happen. And do you think that these mega fights are going to happen in December? It's going to be a huge night weekend if it does.
I almost think I don't care anymore. I mean, you want them to happen, of course, but like we have announcements now on a potential announcement. I think we're given information when we don't need to, so we're teased, and that's why we get frustrated. Bear in mind that the Fury-Usyk fight was never signed. It was never happening, really. It was just talked about, and they almost got close, maybe. That's what we're told. So then we feel like that fight was avoided, and then we're blaming people, and then we're disappointed, and it puts boxing through the mud. I never focus on the fights that we know are happening, and this weekend is a prime example of that. For next month, Devin Haney versus Lomachenko. These are generational fights. These are fights that will change the landscape of boxing. That will bring boxing back to the forefront. Brilliant fights. But the heavyweight division, everything. If that's successful and fruitful, the rest of boxing flourishes from that. So if Wilder can get in there with Joshua, great. I mean. Joshua, I think still needs another fight where he can show he has that grit again, I feel, and more confidence in his ability to go forward. I think having to show that in a Wilder fight is dangerous. And Fury's still the best on the planet, and Usyk is the second best. So if they all box each other on the same night would be great. But I tend to err on the side of we're not going to see any of those. Yeah,
I mean, that'll be a shame. Fury has said he's got a fight coming up. Eddie Hearn yesterday teased, or maybe said it was, we're not sure whether he knows, but he said he thinks it will be Andy Ruiz against Fury in July. What do you make of that fight?
That's a good fight for him. I think, you look at it, because everyone looks at Andy Ruiz and be the fat guy, out of shape guy, not aesthetically good looking in that sense, and that it's an easy fight for Fury for the height difference. But everyone can be a potentially easy fight for Fury because of the way he fights. So and how good he is. It's a good fight. I mean, when you look at the division, who else is he going to fight? If he's not fighting Usyk or Wilder, who else is going in there? People talk about Joyce, but no, Joyce has been beat by Zhang. Is it Zhang? Is it Hrgovic? He starts a favourite with everybody, Fury. So I think let's just see him fight. That's all I want to see him fight. I don't want to see him box another Chisora. All I mentioned, Pulev's name you mentioned, Kubra Pulev, which 2 years ago would have been an acceptable fight. Now, it's not an acceptable fight. I don't think he set a standard up here. So he has to. He's judged on that. That's where he's at. I don't feel sorry for him because he's earning tens of millions of pounds every time he puts on a pair of gloves. Ruiz is a good fight. If we see it, it'd be great. But again, until it's signed, boxing is until they're doing the ring walk. Let's not get carried away.
Well, you mentioned Joe Joyce there and Zhang. Do you think that was a huge upset? Did you think that Zhang was coming in? I mean, he's hugely powerful. He's a very big fighter. If you were Joe Joyce, would you take the rematch straight away for that?
From a tactical, or maybe I'd say no and yes. And the reason I say no because I think it's a really dangerous fight for him, and stylistically it's shown now. Though I thought Joyce was going to win, that he might not beat Zhang. But I also would say that because Joyce has been so avoided, and still will be, even though people go, he's been exposed. His chin held up, actually. He got hurt, but he didn't get stopped by the chin. He recovered, and he was putting the pressure on. No, I didn't think he was going to win the fight at any point, because his pressure wasn't effective enough on Zhang. Zhang hasn't got a great engine. But what Zhang did really well was to keep pouring away at the jab of Joe Joyce, and that threw Joyce off. And Joyce would touch him with the shot, because he couldn't land with the jab, he couldn't follow through with the right hand, and the pressure wasn't as intense as it has been in previous fights, and that's why he lost the fight. And I know the eye got hurt and obviously got stopped, but that's why he was losing the fight, and I thought that's why he was going to lose the fight if he went the distance. Zhang's engine wasn't tested enough. I would say he has to take that fight, because who's going to want to fight him anyway? He'll just be one of those guys, we don't need to fight him. Now, we didn't want to fight him, we were being forced to, now we don't need to. So why would they bother? And so he has to take that fight. But on a normal career path, I'd say avoid him, go another route. Because I would say you beat Zhang and you become WBO mandatory, But because Usyk has 3 of those titles, the WBO is in the bottom of the list. So he has to go to the IBF, WBA, then WBO. So it's still another 18 months to 2 years before he get his title shot anyway. He's probably better off going the WBA route and trying to force out another fight with Daniel Dubois to get a mandatory there, possibly. I don't know how it works, but yeah, I would say no. I don't think he beats Zhang now. I think that's proven. That's what I would say. I think Zhang was cleverer than what I thought. I have to say that.
Yeah, I mean he was great on the night, and also Joe Joyce came in lighter than he had done before against arguably his biggest opponent.
Yeah, I think there was a reason for that, because I thought he'd want to be. Maybe they thought he'd be lighter on his feet, more mobile if he's not carrying so much weight. But he's not mobile. He's flat-footed. He's never been mobile, and whether he could be 12 stone or not mobile, it's just the way he's built. We are what we are at the end of the day. So I think you have to be heavy. You have to have weight behind your shots. You have to be an imposing figure as well. Sometimes just your shadow can work for you just by putting you under pressure. I think that has to play a factor. And I think they probably made a mistake. But Zhang was brilliant. Technically really good, very clever. Just by doing that, it's simple. Just by doing that, I totally threw off the whole game plan of Joe Joyce.
Well, you've got a busy weekend ahead. You're on punditry, commentary, all sorts of duties.
I am literally. They're like, they say guns for hire. I'm literally. I need to though. I'm a poor man who's looking for work, so I'm doing radio, TV, whoever will have me. Have Mike will travel, I guess. But yeah, I'll do anything for money. By the way, that didn't sound quite.
Doesn't sound great,
but it's true. Unfortunately, yeah, I know. You know me long enough. I'll do anything for a couple. I'll put the chairs out and they give me an extra 20 quid on top of my wages.
Well, enjoy this weekend, and all of Wales will be behind Joe Cordina.
Hey, and you know.
Well, yeah, Wales are. Yeah, so they're sort of behind me.
Yeah, you got it.
Thanks, Barry.